Okay, Arjuna chose Krishna. But actually Krishna also chose Arjuna. Because when they came out of the room, then Satyaki was there and he was waiting anxiously to find out what happened. And he said when he saw the Duryodhana come in, he knew that Krishna was going to be, wanted to be on the Pandava side. And so he got very anxious that if the Duryodhana is there, then Krishna might have to say yes to him. And then he only says, but Krishna would have said, no, I've already chosen Arjuna and I can't be on your side. And Krishna is looking at Satyaki saying, you sure I would have done that? And Satyaki says, I know you. Then he says, everybody seems to know me today except me. Because this morning Balram tried to persuade me to also fight for the Kauravas and not fight for the Pandavas, or not to participate in the war altogether. And then I told Balram that, I will participate in the war, it's for dharma and it will be on the Pandava side. And then even Balram said, I knew you were going to say that. I know you. So, yes, Arjuna chose Krishna, but Krishna also chose Arjuna. Does that mean he didn't choose Duryodhana? Actually, no. It's like when even we have a connection with someone, we know they will choose us. We know how much we mean to that person when our connection is very strong. And when our connection is not strong, we know that also. And it's not based on behavior. It's based on literally the connection. And so often I'll say this in the Balvihar class, when I'm talking about Shiva's third eye, then I'll say, what does Shiva's third eye see? Now remember, it's Balvihar class. As adults, it sees consciousness and oneness. That's what the third eye sees. So just so that you're all very clear as adults what it sees. Consciousness, oneness. Beyond name and form, beyond upadhis is the word used. Upadhi means any kind of barrier, which is actually very fascinating when you think of it in terms of neuroscience. When they discovered the any cell, like our skin or any of the carpet, then the way we draw it in biology is you draw this oblique shape, any random shape, right? Because the cell is not a particular distinct round or anything. It's usually just something. And then in the cell, there's all this empty space. And then there's the nucleus. And then inside the nucleus, you have your protons and neutrons and electrons or whatever thons are in there. And then in quantum physics, as you're studying, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, all through high school, this is how you draw your cell. And then you go to proper physics in university and they'll tell you, that wall that you draw around the cell, it's not there. Huh? Then how do you know it's a cell? You don't. But wait, isn't our body made up of cells? Yes. But that's quantum physics for you. That's a great example of quantum physics. You don't know, it just leaves you speechless, right? So that wall around the cell that supposedly tells us this is the cell is a made up thing for us to be able to identify cell. It doesn't actually exist, just made up to draw it so that you can show the kid this is a cell. That made up boundary that makes the cell is called upadhi. It's a boundary that doesn't exist. So our body is an upadhi. It's a boundary that doesn't exist. Our thoughts are upadhi. They're boundaries that don't exist. And my favorite example of thoughts being upadhis is when I say I can't. I can't wake up in the morning. Can't. Is it a truth? Of course not. If you booked on a 7 a.m. flight, you'll be up. You'll be at the airport. All of us. Then why on another day you didn't wake up? Can't. It's not true. But that thought will make sure you don't. It's a boundary that doesn't actually exist. And that's why I keep using the word boundary that doesn't actually exist. Because it's a boundary means I will stop at it. Like when animals are caged and then you take the cage away, they will stop. Where? In midair. There's no cage there, but they will stop because they see a boundary. Does the boundary exist? No. Coming back to what does the third eye see? The third eye sees beyond upadhis to oneness. Okay? But when I tell the Balviyar kids, what does Shiva's third eye see? He sees our hearts. With his third eye, and all of them have, so in this case it would be Krishna, he can see inside our hearts. He can see how much we love, how much we hate, how angry we are, how jealous we are. You can't lie to him. So in Balviyar class, I'll say he can see beyond our lies. As adults, we know we even lie to ourselves. He can see beyond our lies. So why would Krishna choose Arjuna? Because he already knew Arjuna's heart had chosen him. Arjuna didn't have to voice it. And so many times I've experienced this in my life. If in my heart really I've chosen him, things definitely change outside in the world. Entire situations change, entire people don't necessarily change, but I've experienced that as well. Or they just disappear, which is awesome. Not from life, from my life. They continue to exist, very happily doing whatever they're doing. And so reiterating what I said last week, if we choose Krishna knowing that choosing Krishna means I could lose the war and we still choose Krishna, then we've chosen Krishna. If we choose Krishna thinking, if I choose Krishna, I will win the war, I have not chosen Krishna. Most of us do this. Choose Krishna so that I will get healthy. Choose Krishna so that I will get successful. Choose Krishna so that I will get whatever it is that I want. Will he give us what I want? This is interesting. If he really loves you, or rather I should say, remember he sees your heart. If you really love him, he won't give you what you want. People get scared when they hear this. You only love him a little bit, he'll give you what you want. Don't worry. Feel free to love him and ask him for whatever you want. Why? He knows. He knows if I've chosen him or not. He knows if I've chosen him so that I can get something, or he knows if I've chosen him for him. If I've chosen him for him, then do I need to fulfill my desires? My desires are a distraction. And in fact, not getting my desire will make me stronger, more determined, more resilient, more forgiving, more understanding, more compassionate, more humble. Of course, he won't give me what I want. Because what I really want is him and all these qualities that will help me get closer to him. So will I always not get what I want? No. It's really interesting. When you're ready to not get what you want, oh, he pampers you silly. You'll get bread flown in from other countries. Creme de la creme of any cuisine your heart desires. What I'm trying to say is, you can't trick him. You can't trick yourself. We have to be very honest with ourselves. What's our goal? Success in this world or moksha? They're two different goals. So, in whichever one we focus on, that's the one we get. That's why Krishna smiled and said, everyone seems to know me today. Because actually, when you love someone, you think you do know them so well. But the truth is, he knows us well. So, the story continues, and two things happen which are really sad. We'll do the sad ones first, and we'll do the nice one. So Madhavi's two sons were Nakula and Sahadev. Madhavi was married to Pandu. Madhavi died with Pandu on the fire. Nakula and Sahadev are still there, and so as her children, they still have connections with her family. Madhavi's family was very strong, very powerful, very well known. So naturally, they would fight on the Pandava side with Nakula and Sahadev. That's their nephews. So their uncle, Mama, was Shalya. Shalya was very, very skilled in warfare, but particularly in driving the chariot. But in many other ways as well, he also had a very big army. So Duryodhana had already secured a lot of allies, like I said last week, because more of Bhishmacharya than him, people were supportive. But he had his eye on Shalya for some reason. I guess he just thought the more the merrier. And of course, in an army, you want quantity to make your forces large. So he set up rest houses along the way on the route that Shalya was taking from his kingdom to Hastinapur. So he had sent them well in advance. Now, this is what Drupada was telling Yudhishthira, that Duryodhana has already been working for quite some time. You already late in sending out your messages. Because remember, if they're journeying something like 7 days on horseback to come to Hastinapur, Duryodhana would have had to think about this already prior to that, send these people in advance, so 7 days earlier than that. So like a good 2 weeks before that, even before these people can leave, because the rest houses have to be set up with all provisions made. So food, shelter, all of this ready. So Shalya is coming towards Hastinapur and is like so amazed at how well the army is being looked after, how well he's being looked after. And then when he gets to Hastinapur, he's received by Duryodhana, not by Nakula and Sahadev. But of course, as Nakula and Sahadev's uncle, he was coming to support them. But now that he has received all this, what's the word? Obligation from Duryodhana. Now he's obligated because he's received all this. You all know what it is. He's actually really upset. And he makes it known that he's really upset. And he even tells Duryodhana, "You've tricked me." And Duryodhana was a little bit shameless that way. Only now and then he had some iota of shame. It's like, yeah, but now, it's a war. And I guess he used that all is fair in love and war thing, which actually doesn't apply to this war. Not yet. There's lots of rules for this war. So Shalya fights for the Kauravas. And so in the beginning of the battle, when Arjuna has his breakdown, and he says, looking at the opposite army, I see. And one of the things he says is maternal uncles. Because they've all grown up with these people. And this is, but now he's on the opposite side. And that was Duryodhana not playing so nice, but it was Duryodhana. And then look how nice Shalya's character is, that he will fulfill an obligation. He could have said, you cheated me, I don't care, I'm fighting with the Pandavas. But he's not that kind of a guy. He's taken from you, so now he has to give back from you. He knew dharma. And again, if you go back to what I said last week, Drupada was teaching Yudhishthira, those kings that follow dharma will do this. And so actually, this is an incredibly sad thing about the Mahabharata war. There were a lot of really good people on the Kaurava side. I always find that very interesting, that there were so many good people on the Kaurava side. When people ask Guruji, why do good people suffer? One of the ways in Guruji answers is, how good is your goodness? Are you that good that you won't suffer? Let's take a really good person as an example. Yudhishthira. Did he suffer? So much. Bhishma. He faltered in the game of dice. Not to give credit where credit's not due, but otherwise good, huh? Sacrifice for his father, held the kingdom together for 3 generations. Hey, that's a lot of work, huh? I've been running Hong Kong ashram not that long, and already I'm thinking it's a lot of work. Where's the young people? Where are they coming to take over? Poor Bhishma, 3 generations he looked after. Did he suffer? So much. So much, so much, so much. So, Guruji will always say, a truly good person would never ask this question. Which question? Why do good people suffer? How good is your goodness? Now, sometimes I think about this because, like I'm saying, there's good people on the Kaurava side. How good is our goodness? How did they end up on the Kaurava side? Because they all die, huh? Every single person on the Kaurava side, except for Ashwatthama, died. Ashwatthama is still alive, but will never show his face. So, Probably very lonely sitting somewhere. How good is our goodness? Sometimes when we are divided and we want both, we want God, we want the world, we want to be good, but we also want to be better than everyone else. We want to be compassionate, kind, but we also want to be really powerful. It's a paradox that all of us have, right? All of us have. All of us have these paradoxes within ourselves. Sometimes it's as though he'll say, okay, here, enjoy this life. You'll write it off. And so enough papa gets destroyed. So you enjoy it. Like spiritually, maybe not growing so much that life. Enjoyed. And then killed in this war by Krishna. So much papa destroyed. Next life, you won't be 50-50. You'll be 70-30. And you'll make more progress. I've heard this being said by other speakers, that we feel we can't judge our spiritual journey from one lifetime. We don't know the purpose of this lifetime. So good people in the Kaurava army, why they were there? Probably to move some amount of papa, so that now it's cleansed. And I think I've mentioned this before in the Mahabharata. I really like looking at life this way. Something horrible happens, my papa has come to be cleansed. Because the more it's gone, and the more punya I have, the more satsang I'll have, the more devotion I'll have, the more seva I'll have, closer I'll be able to grow, get in my spiritual journey. Okay, coming back to Shalya. Why is he important? Because when the war happens, he's a noteworthy warrior on the Kaurava side, and he fights well. But the only time of, actually, when the war starts, which will probably be next week, there's so many details in the war. But it's like this one killed this one fought with this one shot that arrow, that person replied with this arrow. Then 100-foot soldiers were killed and so many elephants. I'm not going to do all that. They did it. You all don't want to sit and hear all that also. You all want to? Really? We'll see. But really, a lot of it is that they fought, it's battle techniques. A lot of the war descriptions is battle techniques. And dialogue. Oh, so much pride. I'll get you, I'm better than you. So much of that when the war starts. How dare you? Who are you? Too much ego. That, yeah, definitely we don't need to do that. But Shalya's incident is important because Arjuna is being driven by Krishna as the chariot driver. And when Karna finally comes into the battle, which is day 11 of the battle, Karna isn't in the battle till day 11. Why? Because Bhishma makes a rule. For as long as I'm commander-in-chief, Karna can't be a part of the army. Karna will not fight. Bhishma was very clear. Actually breaks Duryodhana's heart, breaks Karna's heart, but they follow. So Karna is not in the army, he's not fighting. The first day he fights is day 11 only, right? Bhishma falls day 10. Day 11, two very important things happen. War hasn't started, but we're already on day 11. The Gita was taught on day 11 by Sanjaya to Dhritarashtra. Gita was taught by Krishna to Arjuna on day 1. But the one that we read is the account of Sanjaya to Dhritarashtra, which was day 11. Because only when Bhishma dies does Dhritarashtra think, wait a minute, what's happening? And that's when Sanjaya starts narrating the incidents of what's going on in the world. Day 11, Karna steps into the battlefield, and this is Arjuna Karna showdown. But Karna needs a chariot driver that's as good as Krishna. There's not going to be anyone as good as Krishna. But the closest is Shaila. And that's why it's important that he's on the Kaurava side. Although it doesn't quite pan out the way they wanted it to, maybe we leave that for day 11. We won't do that now because it's really quite a horrendous moment in the Mahabharata war. It deserves its own class. We'll come back to second sad story. So first sad story was Shailya got tricked into being into the Kaurava side, which he didn't want. None of the Pandavas wanted because they don't want to fight someone they love. The second sad story is Yudhishthira has been this incredible, so respectful to Dhritarashtra, so respectful to Dhritarashtra. And I don't know if y'all remember, but earlier I told y'all, if you know that your elder doesn't have your welfare in mind, you actually don't have to be respectful to them. This elder has declared war. At this point, really, Yudhishthira has all dharmic license to no longer listen to you, Dhritarashtra. Before the war starts, Dhritarashtra sends a message via Vidur to Yudhishthira. This is called psychological warfare. Before the battle started, Dhritarashtra does this. There's moments when Dhritarashtra is so nice and kind, and then there's moments when Dhritarashtra is really, Dhritarashtra is our mind. Our mind is so fickle. Our mind will want to do the right thing, then it does the ulta of the right thing. Our mind only can be so manipulative. You think intellect is the one that's intelligence is required to be manipulative, but it's the mind that's manipulative because it's emotions that will make us act in an underhanded way. So what did he do? He sends a message to Yudhishthira. Such a long, long, long message. Very painful this message is. Basically, what's it saying? Yudhishthira, if you were a good person, you would not fight the war. Because during the war, so many people are going to be killed and all that blood is going to be on your hands. His message is very long, but that's the brunt of it. How do you say this to Yudhishthira? Yudhishthira endured Draupadi's insult. He gave away his brothers. He stayed in the forest for, I keep saying 14 years, but apparently it was only 12. And somebody told me to check and verify, but didn't check and verify. Is it 12? He stayed in the forest a long time. It doesn't matter whether it was 12 or 14. Point is that they were in the forest, eating roots and grass, next to nothing. Living in such harsh conditions. They had gone up to the Himalayas, which was so cold. They went to so many Titra Yatras where they had no comforts whatsoever. How much Yudhishthira has endured? How can you say all the bloodshed's on his hands? He's tried so hard for this war not to happen. How hard is Duryodhana tried for this war not to happen? Even for 2 moments, actually only 2 moments, he regretted. Yeah. That too, he didn't give back kingdom in those 2 moments when he regretted. He told Dushashan, you go and rule it properly. He didn't say, I've done such a horrible thing, give back the kingdom. He said, I've done such a horrible thing, I'm going to kill myself. Dushashan, go rule the kingdom. Not even for 2 moments did he think to give back the kingdom to Yudhishthira, it was Yudhishthira's kingdom. It was never his kingdom. It was Pandu's kingdom to start with. It belonged to Yudhishthira. Plus, Yudhishthira built it from scratch. Well, Krishna helped, but that was Krishna's choice. Arjuna and Nakula had to help. They're brothers. They have to. So it was Yudhishthira's kingdom. This message that the Dhritarashtra sends is horrible. And why does Dhritarashtra send it? Dhritarashtra knows that Yudhishthira's heart is soft, and so he attacked Yudhishthira's soft heart. This is where you have to be so proud of Yudhishthira. During Game of Dice, Yudhishthira's heart was soft. He allowed that game of dice to happen. When Yudhishthira was, when Duryodhana was caught by that Yaksha, Yudhishthira's heart was soft. He went and saved Duryodhana. Other places you see, he's very forgiving. Here, the eve of the battle, this message is sent. Yudhishthira's conscience is so clear. It has zero impact on Yudhishthira. Like, yeah, we're like, yes, finally. But why it had no impact on Yudhishthira? His conscience was so clear. Had this message been sent to Yudhishthira 12 years ago, 14 years ago, however many years ago it was, would have had an impact. And this Yudhishthira has really taught us in the Mahabharata. In the Bhagavad Gita, when we teach karma yoga can be summarized as do your best, leave the rest. Because karma yoga is all about efficiency. It's karma sukoshalam is the definition. Be efficient in your actions. And then karma nyevadikarastu. Right? You do your actions, do it really, really, really well. Ma phale kadachana. Don't worry about the results. Just you focus on you doing the actions. And just of karma yoga. Do really well. Be efficient. Be skillful. Be intelligent. Perform well. Is the essence of karma yoga. Then, after doing really well, don't want anything. So, Gurudev summarized it. Maybe somebody else summarized it and Gurudev quoted it, but I've heard it from Gurudev. So, do your best, leave the rest. When can you leave the rest? Only when you've actually done your best. Why does Yudhishthira not get shattered when he gets this message from Dhritarashtra? And Yudhishthira has admired Dhritarashtra, given him so much respect, has really adhered to so many things because of giving Dhritarashtra faith. And right now, nothing. Yudhishthira's heart is so soft, he doesn't want anyone to suffer. Right now, nothing. Did he suddenly become numb and hard-hearted? Not at all. It's because he's really done his best. Now, if the war has to take place, so be it. I've done my best. And his best was a lot. Our best may not be as much as Yudhishthira's, but we too, when we've really done our best, then we'll be able to say, okay, now whatever happens, happens. Have I really tried to love with all my heart? Have I really tried to understand the other person? Have I really completely forgiven? Then, okay, not meant to be, not. Or even when we're pursuing a goal, I'm trying to think, have I really tried? No. Then you have to accept, I didn't really try, so I'm not that good. And if I've really, really tried, which I haven't, and I'm still not so good, then you have to accept. This is my best. May not be good enough for everyone else, but it was my best. So both ways you have to accept, right? Even if I really didn't do my best, then now this is what I ended up with. Oh, whose fault is that? Mine. I didn't try my best. But it's harder to do it when we haven't tried our best. When we get the results and we haven't tried our best, we feel like, oh, that regret and that guilt is yucky, especially in relationships. But when we've really tried our best, makes it easy. Let it go. Then we can let it go. Yudhishthira has finally let it go. Yudhishthira is actually ready for battle. And he had said that once the battle starts, he will fight more ferociously and more angrily than any of the others. He does. As a warrior, maybe he's not up there with some of the others, but to his capacity, he fights 100%. He wasn't so bad also. He was a Maharathi, right?
Yes, because
Arjun and Bhima, so like, that's really their Swadharma, fighting. So then obviously they're going to shine. Yeah, but even Yudhishthira was a Maharathi, so he was skilled enough to be able to do jamming. And there are descriptions when the war happens about fights that he has fought, where he has very successfully won. Okay, but that the Rashtra should do such a thing is very sad. And when elders do such things, really, which are a younger generation. Elders are supposed to be there to guide us and protect us and encourage us. But then if they don't do their job, then we rise. The younger generation gets an opportunity to shine despite that disadvantage. So Yudhishthira does. But interestingly, this message of Dhritarashtra affects Arjuna. Why? For the last, whatever many number of years it was, 12 or 14, Arjuna had one thought. I have to win. He spent years doing tapas, got every weapon from every devata possible. There isn't a weapon that Arjuna doesn't have. He never for a moment thought, how many people he going to kill. He was so focused on, have to fight the war, have to win, have to fight the war, have to win. In exile, Arjuna's personality couldn't have survived without having this goal. But like I said, he would have been a mess. He needed to do something, he went and did it. But anybody who thinks about the outcome of a war, you're going to feel it. He never thought about it. When did Yudhishthira think about it? Before game of dice. This is the difference. Before the game of dice, Yudhishthira already thought about how many hundreds of people are going to die if I don't do this. I'll do this. If I can save 4 million people, I'll lose the game of dice. I'll lose my kingdom. That game of dice with Yudhishthira playing is not such a clear-cut thing, huh? Because now when you're about to fight, Arjuna feels it. Arjuna really feels it. 4 million people fight the battle, and something like 12 of them are left standing. That's a lot of blood. So when Arjuna has that meltdown, it's partially because of what the Dhritarashtra has said. Because when Arjuna is talking, he's saying, I'm killing my uncles, I'm killing my brothers, I'm killing my guru, I'm killing. All he's repeating things that the Dhritarashtra has said. It's not that Arjuna wasn't a brave warrior, of course he was. He's fought them all before. But when you understand really what's going to happen at the end of this war, you just need that much more courage to fight it. Okay, so the Dhritarashtra was intended to Yudhishthira, but it worked on Arjuna. So now psychological warfare of the Dhritarashtra worked on Arjuna. Arjuna is your key player in the Mahabharata war. It's worse than it working on Yudhishthira. If Yudhishthira had broken down, you're still okay. Arjuna breaking down a real problem. Thankfully, Arjuna chose Krishna. One of Krishna's names is Achyutam. Achyuta. The name is Achyuta. In the bhajan, we started with Achyutam because of Sandhigrama. Achyuta means one who does not fall. Arjuna fell. But he was with one who never falls. Also, psychological warfare is aimed at mind. Our minds are very fickle. 1 minute we think this, 1 minute we think that. 1 minute we like you, next minute we don't like you. 1 minute I'm so confident and I can save the whole world. Next minute, can't do anything. Mind is so unreliable. More entertaining than Netflix. Can't rely on the mind. Krishna as the chariot driver represents intellect. No matter what your mind gets up to, make sure you can hear very clearly the voice of your intellect. If you don't know which is the voice of your intellect, just do japa and drown out the mind. Whatever other voice is left, listen to that. Okay, last story for today. Yudhishthira thinks, let's try one last time. He gets this message from the Dhritarashtra. Let's try one last time for peace. Even though he was ready, he knew that this war was going to happen. He still tried one last time. That's why I said, Yudhishthira is your best example of do your best. Oh, this guy left no stone unturned. Did best. So he sends Krishna. to talk to Kauravas. What does he ask for? Not kingdom. Give us 5 villages. There's 5 of us. Let us all have our own space. Not get into each other's hair. We've already lived with each other in exile plenty. We all need a breather. 5 villages. And Yudhishthira told Krishna the whole message to pass, right? Oh, this is nice bit of the story. Okay, leave this message. We'll end with a really nice story. So Krishna comes to Hastinapur with the message. Which message? That they want 5 villages. They don't want the whole kingdom. Then we won't fight the war. War can be evaded. Everyone go back home. You know, I will eat all nice food here, go back home. Then everyone can live. All 4 million people can live. So Krishna goes to Hastinapur with this message. Duryodhana already gets news that Krishna is coming. So one big banquet is prepared. They go out, you know, when Krishna used to receive, when the Pandavas used to receive Krishna, when Krishna used to visit Indraprastha, when Indraprastha was, the messenger would come that Krishna is coming. They would drive to the gates of the city with a chariot, and then Arjuna or Yudhishthira would drive Krishna's chariot back to the palace, and the rest of the Pandavas would walk on the floor next. So they would escort Krishna to the palace, and they would take him so much, like fans and carpets and food and all of that. Where all that it's like going to airport with full retinue and show and musicians and full. Everything used to be there. Musicians, dancers, everything. Every time Krishna visited. And every time Krishna left, Yudhishthira would drive Krishna's chariot to the border of Hastinapur. Sometimes brothers would fight, who's going to drive the chariot. Sometimes Arjuna used to drive, sometimes Nakula used to drive. All of them used to. Bhim, I don't think ever drove. Bhim, who loved fighting, didn't fight with his brothers. Y'all want to drive, drive. I'll walk. But I think pretty much all of them, usually it was Yudhishthira, but all of them. Sometimes Nakula drove, sometimes Sahadev drove. Arjuna definitely drove. And so that's also really beautiful, because just like we saw in that Draupadi thing where she tore her sari and put it around her finger, and then he became so much cloth for them, Arjuna had actually been Krishna's charioteer many times. You're just taking him back and forth. It's not like Krishna became charioteer for Arjuna and Arjuna never did it. It's actually Krishna always gives what we have given, but times 10. Right? Like I had explained that Draupadi gave this much cloth. Only his finger was cut. She didn't need that much cloth, right? And then he became acres and acres and acres and acres. Arjuna drove little bit, 10 meters. I don't know how long it was, but not that long, right? The city wouldn't be that long. Maybe 10 kilometers, okay? What did Krishna give in return? Charioteer during the battle is like tenfold. So now Krishna is coming. Duryodhana thinks he'll do the same thing because he had seen the Pandavas do it. Did he really ever do it in his life before? No. Why is he doing it? Because war is about to start. And Bhishma told him, when he came back home after getting the army, and he told Bhishmacharya, I got the army. Bhishmacharya looked at him and said, you fool. This was your choice and you chose the army, you fool. And so he thought, what did I do wrong? So this, he thought he'll make up for it now and he'll get Krishna's attention and affection. So all this was prepared. Krishna didn't get on the chariot. He didn't go to the palace. Where did he go? To the house of Vidur. in one of the gullies at the back. Vidur is the minister, third son of Vedavyasa. So Dhritarashtra, Pandu, Vidur, all three were born to Vedavyasa. But Vidur was born to the servant. So he was never treated as, well, he's a family member, but he was never treated as royalty. So he has a humble house, like in one of those gullies, some small little house. He lived with his wife. Vidur is very, 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 very devoted to Krishna. In fact, when Krishna leaves this body, when he leaves his body and leaves this earth, one of the few people he remembers is Vidur. He leaves a message for Vidur. Vidur and the Pandavas. He's so lucky. So he goes to Vidur's house because, again, Krishna knows our heart. Krishna knows how much Vidur loves him. He knocks on the door. Vidur's wife was about to get into the shower. So remember I told you in those days, they would wrap one towel. But it was a plain piece of cloth. So who's at the door? Who's come now? We weren't expecting anyone. They didn't send message beforehand. Who is this? She opens the door. Krishna! So excited that it's Krishna. And then, he says, Hari Om, hi, namaste. I'm not sure what he would have said. Mother, he calls her mother. Hari Om, mother. I'm so hungry. First line. Now, anyone who you call mother and you follow with the word hungry, what are they going to do? She hadn't bathed yet, which means she hadn't lit the fire yet, which means there's no food yet. It was very clear. Our tradition, our Vedic tradition is super clear. You wake up, you bathe, only then you can touch fire. So you can't do puja before that. You can't cook before that. So now he's hungry. What to feed him? What to feed him? She goes into the kitchen and she takes out whatever fruit that she can find, which happens to be bananas. And so she peels the bananas, and in her excitement, she's thinking, I have to feed Krishna. She takes the banana and gives him the peels. Because, when we get super excited, we do these things. We don't notice what we're doing. Krishna is eating the peels. You ever tasted banana peels? They're not fun to eat. Although cows tend to enjoy them. So there must be something good there. But humans don't enjoy that. Krishna is eating it. So she has taken the actual banana, thrown it away, given Krishna the peels. He's eaten it, and then he says, I'm so hungry, you're not going to give me anything else. Maybe because she gave him the peels, she was thinking if he says this, he'll get the banana next time. But she peels the next one, and she does the exact same thing. She gives him the peel. Now, in this excitement of running here and running there, she hadn't noticed that the cloth had fallen. She's sitting there, feeding him banana peels, inappropriately dressed, but she's mother and he's a kid. And so he's thoroughly enjoying her excitement and her love. But at that moment, Vidur walks in, horrified at the sight, and says, woman, what are you doing? Not my dear, not her name. Woman, what are you doing? She becomes extremely embarrassed. Covers herself up, peels the next banana, and feeds Krishna the cup. He bites into it, and he looks at Vidur and says, it's not as sweet. I love this story. He doesn't say it to her. He says it to Vidur took away the sweetness. It was Vidur that wanted to do everything proper and nice and didn't see his own wife's love. Krishna saw only her love. Nothing else mattered to him. He was happy eating the banana skin. Why did Krishna go? I think not so with Vidur, huh? I think he went only for her. So Duryodhana set up this huge feast in the palace. And Krishna went straight to Vidur's house to eat banana skins. Krishna sees our hearts. In Duryodhana's heart, there was no love. None of that food would have tasted nice. He doesn't want things. He really doesn't want all of that. If we love him 2%, he'll take the 2%. He'll make the 2% grow. So firstly, Krishna will go where there's love. What he wants from us is only love. I kept my word. I ended with a nice story. Questions?
Yudhishthira is willing to negotiate and say, just give me 5 villages.
Yudhishthira is willing to negotiate and give me 5 villages, yes.
But he has no right to. This war is for Draupadi and how can he do it on behalf?
The Dhritarashtra had sent that message. I think it was Yudhishthira's way of showing the Dhritarashtra that my hands are clean. So that much respect Yudhishthira had for the Dhritarashtra, even though he could see very clearly that the Dhritarashtra is not playing fair. So it was kind of like the Dhritarashtra is telling Yudhishthira, don't fight the war, otherwise all this death is your fault. Yudhishthira answers, okay, I won't fight the war. Give me 5 villages. So Yudhishthira, out of respect, would never say no to Dhritarashtra. So his reply is, okay, I won't fight the war. Give me 5 villages. Knowing full well Duryodhana won't. Yudhishthira knew Duryodhana won't. But, on the off chance, 4 million people would have been saved. So Yudhishthira was willing. Then we'll deal with Draupadi later. Bhim could have always challenged them to a one-on-one duel. As per Kshatriya law, that's allowed. So Bhim could have still gotten his vengeance. So even if they had gotten the 5 villages, Bhim would have still avenged Draupadi by challenging. That's true. Yes.
Earlier, Swamiji mentioned one part that said you have to choose between success in this world or moksha.
Success in the world or moksha, yeah. Can't you have both? You can work, you can grow spiritually and have success. But to get moksha, you have to give up the world. So if I'm working for success in the world, I'm pretty much holding on to the world. Ultimately, so it's like when a tree is growing, You protect the tree with a fence and you nurture it and you make it strong and you give it its space. You know, animals can't come, wind, all of that. Then when it's strong enough, it has to look after us. So in the early days of our spiritual journey, we strengthen ourselves spiritually while working in the world. When we're spiritually strong enough, we have to look after the world. So no, eventually I have to give up the world because remember, world's not real. I can't get moksha if I'm holding on to the world. I'm holding on to unreal. Eventually, if I want real, I have to let go of unreal. Does that mean you stop working? No. You just know it's not real.
What are some things to do to give up the envy?
Do your best, leave the rest. Choose Krishna if it means whatever it means. Like last week I said, right, that Ravi Shankarji had said, Sindhis chose religion instead of land and wealth. Choosing Krishna means you lose all your land and wealth, so be it. Usually it's not so drastic. Very rare in life do we have to make such a choice, but every now and then we will. Every now and then we are faced with something really. What are we going to choose in life? Remember when 9/11 happened? Those terrorists were in the flights. By then there were mobile phones. Maximum messages that people received from people on that flight was, I love you. Some people on the flight were videoing, sending, this is happening, I'm so scared, help me. But so many people on the flight didn't trouble their family by saying there's terrorist on our flight. They didn't want family members to get scared. They messaged just all family members, I love you. That was the last message their family members would ever see. Like in that last moment, what we're going to choose. Like, I'm sure there was good intention, all those people shooting. You want to identify the person who did this, let's send it out so FBI can get the facial recognition, this thing, that thing. Whatever you're thinking in that last moment, like. But I found it interesting that maximum people messaged, I love you. Without necessarily any context. Just getting a message like that when your family members meant to be on the flight might have concerned some people. It's so nice that that's the last thing they wanted to say. You would have heard of this when 9/11 happened. Gosh, it's been long, since 9/11 happened. As we grow spiritually, anyways, we won't choose the world. It's not that you don't do well in the world. When you see even spiritual masters accomplish so much, right? It's not like they're not functioning in the world, but you're not choosing the world. Functioning in it. Entertainment. Really entertainment. Okay. Om. Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschita Bhave Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamita Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Shanti Hari